Filmed in front of a live studio audience, it's the Dicebreaker Podcast with your host, Matt Jarvis!
I like that we've just become the Muppet Show podcast.
Well, it was
in some ways, we were always the Muppet Show.
Exactly, it was the inevitable conclusion.
It's us, we're here for the nicest podcast on the internet. But only
Nice.
one episode. It's episode 69.
Ooh,
Wait,
baby.
The podcast. I'm Matt Jarvis.
It's getting hot in here.
Yeah. By Wheels, our very own Kermit the Frog.
I would have said Rizzo the Rat, but
Rizzo doesn't do the intro. I guess you're more of like a Gonzo-esque, like...
You're Kermit the Frog because you're hosting, surely.
Yeah, but you've got the kind of show, like the showmanship of a Gonzo. I feel.
Matt, you're quite quiet, by the way. Can we turn your mic up a little bit?
Me?
Yeah.
You're quiet.
You're quiet, boy.
I'm saying you're quiet.
I'll try.
I'm quiet as
I
well,
haven't adjusted
apparently.
any.
Oh, you are very
Wheels,
quiet.
you
What's
just
going on?
loud?
Hello. You're on max volume. Unless
Jesus, Wheels.
I'm trying my best. You're.
Juice us up.
Is that better?
That's it.
Is that better for everyone? Oh wait, no, hold on. I see what the problem is here.
Bum,
Oh,
bum,
no.
bum, bum.
Say some more words, Matt.
Hello, I'm.
There we
Welcome to our very special guest star.
Matt, you're Kermit. We already established this.
go. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
are we-
are Kermit.
Are we on the level now? The
Yeah, we're
audio
all
level.
good. Sorry
obviously.
about
Cool.
that. Sorry about that,
Yeah.
everyone. It
Yeah,
turned
Matt-
out that I still had the volume down from when I had lo-fi hip-hop playing over the top of our painting stream.
Matt is Kermit, Wheels is Rizzo the Rat, and I'm Gonzo.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
established
sure.
this, yeah.
Either way, welcome back, Wheels. Welcome,
Thank
Alex
you.
Meehan.
Oh, hi, yeah, I'm Alex Meehan.
We'll get through these intros one day without immediately being sidelined into something else.
It's a feature of the podcast that
Yeah,
you're
it's
never
what
allowed to
people
do a
come
real
for
intro,
now.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Indeed.
We are, of course, here to chat about all things board games and tabletop RPGs and whatnot.
And that.
And also, in celebration of this very special occasion, our
This very
16th
nice
podcast,
occasion.
we have our latest weekly game, which I think folks are going to enjoy.
Yeah.
I think it's a good one.
I've done a lot of research for this one.
I have no
Really?
doubt of that.
I just assumed you read these books all the time anyway, Meehan, so...
I mean, that's research. It's just preliminary research. Like, I didn't know we were going to do this, but I kind of knew.
Nathaniel Levy in the
before-
chat, by the way, says there's going to be fan art of Muppet Dicebreakers soon, and I'm just like, don't
I
threaten
can't
me with
wait.
a good time. Do you know what I mean?
As long as it's fan art and not the other stuff that floats up on the internet.
Tumblr, yeah, specifically.
It's episode 69, not episode 34. Right. Let's
Well-
talk about... Anyway, let's talk
Nice.
about what we've been up to.
Dicebreaker After Dark.
What did this week? Alex Meehan, let's start with you. What have you been up to lately? What have you been playing?
Hi. Just a quick shout out to, oh, please, I really apologize for this.
John Moskowitz.
John Moskowitz. I think I did that right.
Yeah.
Has done a super chat.
A very, very
Yeah.
generous super chat, by the way. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much.
And they say, hi! You've kept me so entertained the last year. Well, thank you very much. I hope to see you play Vampire the Masquerade soon. Oh, John. Now that Renegade... Talking, I'm 69.
Oh, John. Bloody hell, John, let me tell you.
Vampire the Masquerade is arguably the sexiest... Oh, one of the sexiest mainline RPGs
Yeah,
out there.
mainline. I was about to
Yeah.
say mainline.
No,
Yeah,
no.
There's some pretty sexy RPGs. in
Yeah,
this
oh.
space.
When that collection, Honey and Hot Wax exists, by Sharang Biswad, who wrote for the website.
Mhm.
Yeah, the mainline RPGs, Vampire the Masquerade is arguably the sexiest. But now that Renegade are kind of, I always get confused with this, in charge of publishing.
Yeah, they're handling it
Yeah.
on behalf of Paradox, right? Or,
Yeah. Paradox Entertainment own the rights, but Renegade are kind of taking care of it at the moment. Thank God, because that RPG has had a bad past. But it seems like they are making some positive changes. So I don't think there's any better time for us to play Vampire the Masquerade, except for maybe in the Spooks
I mean,
the
Season of Spooks.
October
tis
Halloween
but,
month.
tis but 2 months since till Spooktober, so
Yeah, Spooktober. Yeah.
keep your ears to the ground.
So maybe we can fulfill that request. Anyway, what have I been doing?
Yeah, less about what we will play, and now about what we have been playing.
Oh, Matt Jarvis. This week. I don't know why I did that. No.
Nobody ever knows why you do anything.
It's all for show. This week, tabletop wise, my flatmate and I played the latest expansion and first expansion for the game Fort, which was my favorite game of last year. I love it. It's a deck building game from Leader Games, who do Root and other games that I can't remember.
They're all 4 letters long.
Oath is the newest one. But Fort is Vast.
Which is not our favourite.
We don't talk about Vast here. Not anymore. Fort is a deck building game where you're like kids and you're trying to do kid things, like have little gangs roaming the streets, I suppose, and have like macaroni sculptures and toys and stuff. And the newest expansion adds cats and dogs, or cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs.
See, all I can hear when you say that is the insane clown posse being like pet cats and dogs, which is when they say it in the very scientifically based song Miracles.
Magnets.
Is that the one about?
Work?
Yeah, it's the one with the line
which
about
one.
magnets. And
I was thinking of the film.
Yes.
Cats and Dogs.
Yes, Wills. I was also
Christopher
thinking of
Walken, right?
Yeah, in which dogs are secret spy agents and cats are evil geniuses.
So I've got a fun little story about that.
Of course.
Of course you have. Why did I bring that up?
Do you want to hear it or not? Do you not want to be entertained?
Are you not entertained?
So Wills and I we're basically we're born in the same year. I think Wills is slightly older than I am.
Canonically we're twins, but in actual fact we're a couple of months apart or something.
Yeah. Wills popped out and then I waited a bit.
Let's not talk about popping out. I know this is the 69th episode, but let's not talk about the specifics.
Anyway, it's all natural. It's fine. But that film, Cats and Dogs, came out. Was it 2000? Was it like early 2000s? I don't know the exact.
Was it after the millennium that feels?
2001, A Cat and Dog Odyssey.
I wasn't far off.
Rated 5.1 out of 10 on IMDb.
That's
way too high.
Yeah, that's...
It's underrated, personally.
Oh wow! Well,
granted, I haven't watched it since 2001, but
yeah. Being a child and loving animals, as soon as I saw the trailer for that film, I was like, I want to see it. And that happened to come out about the same time as a little film called Shrek. You might know it. And my parents asked us, because we were on holiday, "Oh, children, which film do you want to go and watch?" And of course, my answer to that was Cats and Dogs, please. And I will say, my parents have gone through a lot. One of those big things I imagine is having to watch Cats and Dogs with me, because I've not watched that film probably since I was a child. But I'm aware of how awful it probably was, considering the general sort of ethos around it of, hey, kids are idiots.
that is the ethos of a lot of films, to be fair.
A lot of animated films.
Yeah, can I just quickly point out, I'm on the IMDb page, top billed cast is absolutely wild.
I know.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
What?
Tobey Maguire. Jeff Goldblum and Elizabeth Perkins are the top billed cast.
Oh my god,
that
was like peak Tobey Maguire time. In fairness, right? That's like that must be just pre Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man 1 was like 2002 or something.
Yeah, I was sort of old enough to actually be watching films, so it must have
Films.
Would
Oh,
you
sorry,
call-
you were watching like Ingmar Bergman.
Kino.
It's like, would you like to watch Cats and Dogs first? No, thank you. I'll watch The Seventh Seal.
Listen, a lot of people say film means high art and movie means schlock, but in actual fact, movie is just the American word for film.
Yeah, don't quite understand that, but I really pre-Spider-Man is Tobey Maguire. I thought that he
I thought
only
kind of
really
broke
peaked
with
Spider-Man.
Well, I thought that too, but I feel like Spider-Man was just after, unless it was like 2000, maybe it was like turn of the millennium. I think I don't want to accept that Sam Raimi's Spider-Man was so long ago. Like any year I can claw back from my youth.
It is a masterpiece. Any film that gets to use Willem Dafoe to his full capabilities is a masterpiece.
Yeah, that bit where they just turn into skeletons was deeply traumatic as a child, but now is deeply hilarious as an adult.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so Cats and Dogs. Also, the sequel is called Pussy Galore, by the way.
Is it really?
I'm pretty sure it's called something like that.
Is that the subtitle?
Sorry,
that must be the subtitle, right?
No,
that can't just be the
It's
title.
Cats and Dogs, The Revenge of Kitty Galore.
Okay, I was close.
And then, of
I was
course, there
close.
is Cats and Dogs 3, the lowest rated of the trilogy, at
What?
3.7 stars out of 10. Cats and Dog 3, Paws Unite.
Paws
terrible.
Unite? That's not even a pun.
I'm assuming it's because the cats and the dogs are working together now, because there seems to be both dogs and cats in a squad on the picture.
What?
I know,
Where's
right?
Cats and Dogs?
I don't mean to spoiler drop, but head to your local cinema to watch this.
It won't be playing at the cinema. I mean,
You can rent cinema screens though, right?
Things are gonna get hairy.
yeah, someone put that in the chat.
That's...
Anyway, I used to have it on VHS as well.
Yeah, I had on VHS.
Yeah, I only watched it on VHS. I didn't see it at the cinema.
Yeah, but I don't know where that VHS went, and sometimes I wonder whether it was disposed of.
Yeah,
it's like when they buried all those ET copies in the desert.
I had The Mask, which was recorded off of TV, as you did with VHS tapes at the time.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'm relatively certain that my mum just taped over it, and then was like, "Oh, I don't know where it's gone."
Yeah.
Or "Oh, I'm sure it's around somewhere."
Oops.
But yeah.
She wanted to be
too much of The Mask.
To be freed from
The oppression of cats and dogs. Yeah.
Oppression of the mask. Anyway, the Cats and Dog expansion for 4 is pretty... 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
It's good fun. It's not anything revolutionary. It doesn't really do anything to fundamentally alter the way you play the game.
Is it just like a tiny deck? A tiny little pack? Okay.
Like a little deck. There's actually quite a bit inside there, considering. You've got both cats and dogs, in case the name didn't
Working
give it
together?
away. Working together.
And having fun.
Yeah. Were you referencing Bob the Builder there?
I think so.
Yeah.
Neil Morris's Bob the Builder.
Together to get the job done. Okay.
Do you remember that was
Chart topping
wasn't there a
Bob the Builder.
song? Yeah. Wasn't there a...
No, there was an entire album. Yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
But Bob the Builder's
honestly?
Mumbo number 5, I think, topped the charts
sorry.
at some point.
I'm sorry. What, Mr. Jarvis?
Huh? Bob the
Bob
Builder's
the
Mumbo
Builder.
number 5.
Bob the Builder do a Mumbo number 5 cover?
Yeah.
Have I spoken about this before? You know Lou Bega of Maroon 5 not Maroon 5. Mumbo number 5 fame. Imagine Lou Bega of Maroon 5. Lou Bega of Mumbo number 5 fame did a posthumous collaboration with the Scatman.
No, wasn't it Scatman John was posthumous. I think Lou Bega is still alive.
No, that's what I mean. Sorry, I
see.
So from Beyond the Grave, Scatman collabs with Lou Bega, the self-entitled Hat Man, in which they sing Scatman and the Hat Man.
I need to look at this.
It's very good.
I put it in the Slack, so I'm offended that you don't know it yet, Meehan. But
I'm sorry. When did you put it in the Slack?
I don't know, but I can only assume
year
some
ago?
kind of alarm bell went off and everyone had to watch it. It's really good as well. It slaps.
Oh God. Okay, well, I'm definitely going to be looking that up. Anyway, also the idea of a Bob the Builder version of that song is a little bit disturbing to me, considering the subject of that song is like, here are all the women I slept with.
Yeah, which it is episode 69, everyone remember. So
yeah. Okay, so do you want me to run through? Like, we're already off topic now. Do you want me to run through the Bob the Builder album?
You've played any board games this week?
The track listing of Bob the Builder: the album from 2001. So same year as Cats and Dogs.
Oh wow, seminal year
album.
Can we fix it?
A seminal year in culture.
That's opening with your most popular song is a bold move from Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 2, Mambo number 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 3, Bob's Line Dance. Number 4, Right Tool for the Job. 5, Let's Get Busy. So I feel like there is a trend emerging here. 6, What Can I Be? Parentheses, Spud's song.
Spud
I don't
was
remember what Spud is.
No, Spud was the one with the scooper.
Right.
No, that's Scoop, isn't it?
Oh, that would explain it.
There's Scoop, Muck and Dizzy.
No, okay. I don't know. Maybe was Spud the one who crushed things? I can't remember.
Well, we'll never know. 7.
Wait, was it the little cement mixer? Oh no.
No, that must be Dizzy.
Oh, there you go. Anyway,
7,
carry on.
Blonde-haired gal in a hard hat. Parentheses, Wendy's song.
Ooh.
That's his wife, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe business partner. Anyway, 8 is just called Dizzy.
That would be Dizzy.
Oh, that was the collab with Dizzy Rascal. Now I remember.
Super Spud. Parentheses, Spud's dub. So
Spud's dub.
Yeah, that must have been like the big. Yeah, that was the big club hit. Everyone was dropping E to Super Spud's dub. Dropping Spud, as we called it.
Dropping Spud doesn't sound good. Oh,
yeah. I mean, everybody's been there.
I haven't taken anything, but I'm convinced I'm on drugs.
Look, we've all been there. You're in a club toilet. Someone comes in. You want any Spud? Spud. Yeah.
Usually, I get offered like lollipops and perfume in the toilet.
Yeah, no, it's the
depends what toilet it's
from a sink. That's the
toilet. Right. Okay. I just want a question for the US, the people in the US in the chat. Is it a thing in club toilets where there is someone selling like deodorant sprays, like you pay per spray, and like lollipops and perfume sprays? I just want to know.
Did they have the little slogans in your?
Yeah, no spray, no lay. No spray, no lay was a popular one, but I won't say most of them because they were rude for even this episode.
Come on, my friend, no spray, no lay. Would you like a spritz?
No spray, no lay. That was a popular one.
Very
anyway,
especially in the men's toilet where urinals are a thing. So he's just sort of talking at you whilst you're just having a whiz.
Yeah, I've been offered cat multiple times while at a urinal. Just like I'm. Hey, no, thank you. I'm busy.
I will say this.
Thanks everyone for watching, by the way. Dicebreaker Family Podcast.
I have never gone to a club and been offered drugs, but maybe that's just because the way I look.
Like, I don't think my mum's ever gone to a club and been offered drugs.
How dare you? I don't look like a middle-aged woman,
Oh,
I don't know. I guess I have an aura about me. Anyway,
I'll finish. I'll wrap up this.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. I've started.
We're going back to that, are we? Okay.
10. No one can dig it like we do. 11. No prob Bob. And 12. Here's one for you, Wills. Crocodile Rock. Bob the Builder and Elton John.
What?
Just the cover of Crocodile Rock, I guess.
Wow. Excellent.
Yeah. Often associate Bob the Builder with crocodiles. So. Yeah. Anyway,
Elton John, so
yeah,
I'm game. Right.
4
cats and dogs.
Keep coming back here. It's like we're circling around. Okay, yeah. In the game, you've got dogs, and they just act like cards that you can get, like the kid cards. But they work a little bit differently in the sense that unless you use them to either like, how you can prop up cards that say this times this sweet, to get stuff. So like you get this many pizzas per this type of card that you play. So unless you do that or you manage to fulfill their requirements, they go into your yard and then you have to give them to an opponent. Sorry for the listeners. The two boys are doing making eyes. So the dogs.
Yeah. Speaking of cats.
Scales. Yeah. The dogs. So you can put the dogs in your doghouse by like having you play this many cards alongside this dog and you get the benefit, and then they go in your doghouse, and then you get points for having the most dogs in your doghouse. And then the cats are like, if you have a certain number of kind of cards in your yard, the cats will sort of wander over to you, and then you just get to use a special effect, like whenever it's like, I think it says when you can use it. So it's fun how they've kind of made the cards work a little bit like how cats and dogs work. So the dog will stay loyal to you unless you don't, like give them food and whatever, and then the cats will just wander over to you and as they feel like it. That's about it, to be honest. Like they add like a little bit of fun, some extra ways to get points to the game, but they don't like fundamentally change it. I will say probably the best thing about it is like the artwork is just like
Carl again.
It's Carl Farron. There is a pug card, and oh my goodness, that pug! I put it on the Instagram. That pug is so cute. Like it's just an adorable little lump. And then there are the cat cards as well. And I think there's one cat called Scratch that like has a special ability where it can destroy one of your opponent's cards. Yeah, I enjoyed it. So that was 4 cats and dogs. Finally got through that.
It only took us 26 minutes to talk about the first thing that one of us has played this week.
Hello.
Sorry. I was going to say, do you know how much it costs as a little pack?
No, but I can't imagine it's much. Like the fort itself is only like 20
it's pretty reasonable, right? Yeah,
I can imagine I would guesstimate £6. That was what I would guesstimate. Like, anyway, you could probably look that up. Other stuff I've been doing. So I've been watching a lot of Avatar: The Last Airbender for the first time. Because I initially watched the first 2 episodes a while ago and bounced off it because I was at an age where like some of the humor and stuff was kind of bouncing off me, and I was like, this feels a bit kiddie. But then I endeavored to watch it once again and really give it some effort, because Matt and I are looking to play Avatar, the RPG. I know it's not called that. It's called something else.
Avatar Legends.
There you go. Avatar Legends. Nice generic name there. Which is like the tabletop role-playing game based on both Avatar: The Last Airbender and Korra, The Legend of Korra.
Oh, you mean the one that we're hoping to put a Let's Play out of on the channel?
What?
The very same.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So Matt and I are part of...
You were like, I've been, planning Avatar RPG. I was like, all right, cool. Good to know that Meehan's planning her character for the game I'm playing.
Wait,
and then you're
when are we doing that?
Do a game at home. And I was like, excuse me?
It's fine. I can just use the same character. Look, I have a finite amount of time in my life.
A finite amount of brain.
Yeah. It's fine. I think the character's pretty good. But yeah. Sorry, we are doing our own Let's Play on the channel at some point. But Matt and I are also part of a separate game that we're doing with Chase as well, and my now old flatmate. I made the terrible decision of watching the last episode of the first season today, which is very emotional if people know what happened in that episode. And my flatmate moved out today after living with them for 2 years, and I got a little bit sad. Yeah,
that's rough, buddy.
Yeah, it was like I was just like, I texted them saying like, I really shouldn't have watched. Why did I watch that episode? But yeah, if that's not an indication of the fact that I now really very much like Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've eaten through the first season. It just gets a lot better.
Yeah,
like the first 2 episodes, you're like, this feels a little bit like too much for someone who's not a child. But then it gets much better, and I have actually been laughing quite a lot. Like all the abuse, not abuse, but the kind of jokes being like thrown at Sokka is always funny, because Sokka is just like a perfect butt of the jokes. General Iroh is just the best character in the entire series.
Uncle Iroh is incredible.
He's so good. I have really been enjoying it, and I will continue to watch it, and then I will probably watch Korra. But yeah, Matt and I are doing Avatar RPG stuff. Shall we talk about that, Matt? Just about like how we've been finding making a character. Like, it's a fun experience so far.
We'll probably talk about it quite a lot on the next week, because we're planning to film it.
This is true.
Yeah,
very soon.
Right? So...
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
as is the way with the podcast, as soon as we speak it will fall through.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I have been having fun with the character creation system. It is powered by the apocalypse, so it's fairly straightforward. But there's some really interesting stuff, even as someone who's only watched the first season of the show, that like you're like, oh, that's really interesting how they translate that part of the show into making a character. There you go. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I think like I agree with you. Like I haven't dug too deep yet because we're only in the starting stage, but it's by Magpie, who folks might remember from doing the Root RPG, which I think was also like a very good adaptation of. It kind of got that world, and
it did a lot of cool things as well. Like it used the actual board from the game to do like world building and all that kind of stuff. Like it was really interesting. So I'm keen to see what this is like. I'm not like a massive Avatar fan. I watched the first series of Korra and didn't really get on with it that much. But I don't think it's a very good series.
Oh dear. Wait, I thought you were a Korra person and not an Avatar person.
That's me.
Did I mishear you?
Matt's the Korra person.
Matt's the Korra person.
I mean, to be clear, I like both, but I personally prefer Korra. Like I prefer the kind of character arcs.
I haven't watched past the first season, so it might be that that's not a great snapshot of it, but yeah.
I can see why people would, because I mean I bounced off it initially, but then I was like, let's give this another go. But I think it's surprisingly nuances. I think maybe going a bit too far, but it's surprisingly like for a kids show.
Yeah,
it feels like there's a lot of love and effort put into this, and I'm a big fan of world building, and they do a lot of world building aspects. And there's some interesting discussions of stuff like trauma and forgiveness and, like growing, that's what, kids, I think stories about growing, like growing up, like growing emotionally as a person. I think those stories are obviously good for everyone, but for kids especially, I think they do a good job of it. And also Appa is adorable.
Appa is incredible. Yeah,
I just want a big cow, a big flying cow. I love cows. Also, Umbra says, did the flatmate turn into the moon? No, they did not.
No, that's
We did get super chat as well very quickly from Cookie
metaphorically, it felt like they turned into the moon.
Yeah, we did get super chat from Cookie Cat 94 as well. So thank you, Cookie Cat, for that. And they said avoid the live action movie.
Yeah, the M. Night Shyamalan movie is not good.
I have heard how awful it is.
I've seen I've not watched the countless YouTube videos, but I've seen enough thumbnails to know that it ain't good.
Is a good explainer.
Also, M. Night Shyamalan just continues to create absolute rubbish, including apparently his latest film, which the premise of it immediately rang alarm bells in my head of like, this isn't gonna be good, is it? Yeah. And it's such a shame because the actor in there, I can't remember his name. I think he plays the son of the family or something. He's really good. He was in Hereditary, and he was so good in that film.
As in the main son in Hereditary. Yeah, no, he's great.
He puts on such a good performance in that film. So it's a shame that he is now.
Chase has summed it up in a sentence. Old, the beach that makes you old.
Oh, is that where the beach stuff is from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Okay, so this will wrap up my segment probably about half an hour in.
That tends to be the case.
Yeah. Yesterday I went to the cinema for the first time in like a year and a half. I don't know, since all this nonsense began. We went to a local independent cinema in the hopes that there would be fewer people there, and also support your local independent businesses. And we went to see Black Widow as like a final hurrah for the flat. I will get on to why I thought, Wills.
No,
but
I was just gonna say, isn't there a whole thing about Scarlett Johansson like lawsuiting because it didn't get a theatrical release, and yet you're watching it in a cinema?
It's because it was simultaneously released on Disney Plus. So her lawyer's point is that because her royalties are based on solely box office performance, that's been impacted by releasing it simultaneously on Disney Plus.
Anything that shoves a fork inside Disney's eye is fine by me, to be honest. It seems like a weird thing.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's like, okay, I think people should have the option to watch it at home if they don't feel safe going to a cinema. On the other hand, screw you, Disney. So I'm kind of like, it's a difficult, which team. You don't need to pick sides. Anyway, when we were at the cinema, I did see a poster for Old. And it's so bad. It's like someone sat there and I think you can see both their legs, and one leg is young and the other leg is all wrinkly and old.
Did they put one leg on the beach and leave the other one on?
It's when you go, maybe they just swam in the water for too long, and that's
who knows?
Yeah.
You do get wrinkly.
I did read a spoiler thing just because I'm not going to watch it, so I wanted to see what the stupid thing at the end would be.
Of course there's a stupid thing at the end. But if you want to watch beach movies, just watch The Beach. That's a good beach-based film. Anyway, Black Widow. There were multiple points. I won't say any spoilers or anything, but there were multiple points in that movie where I looked over at Gwen and was chuckling. And then she was sat, they were my old flatmate. They were sat there and they were looking at me with this look in their face. I'm just like, and for the audience who are listening, it's like the look on someone's face who just kind of can't quite believe what they're watching. It's not a terrible film by any stretch of the imagination, and I've seen worse Marvel films. However,
I mean, if you've seen 4-2, I can't imagine anything being possibly worse than that film.
So about 4-2.
No, not about 4-2.
Look, let's do a movie podcast another time.
Week. It's 37 minutes since we started this stream.
It's got Tom Hiddleston in it.
Oh, for goodness sake.
No. So okay. So the Black Widow. The main thing I'll just say is tonal dissonance is an issue. The casting is amazing. I love the casting so much. Florence Pugh is incredible. She is so good.
If you say the casting is amazing, do you mean it has Florence Pugh?
Yeah, I mean, not just Florence Pugh. It also has Rachel Weisz in it, who is also amazing. But tonal dissonance is what I'm going to say. Also, there's a CGI pig. Matt.
We pass over to me. I can go if you want.
Yeah, we get to talk as well, Matt, apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, I had that Bob the Builder interlude, so it's fine.
Yeah, Matt had a whole Bob the Builder interlude. And you talk more than enough for all of us.
What I'm going to chat about is, like me, and I've been planning Avatar with Chase, which I'm very excited for. I played a bit of Baldur's Gate 3, which I'm interested in so far. I like Divinity. I am honestly less fussed by D&D than I am Divinity, but I'm kind of interested to see what they do with that kind of world.
Matt, I don't know about you, but I just want to play Baldur's Gate for the sexy bit.
I mean, that's
episode 69.
They're in there.
Yeah, well,
I will say this is not really spoiler territory, but in Baldur's Gate 3, the sexy bit is literally like a sort of, you have reached the sex zone. Let's see if you have filled out the sex checklist with any of the characters. Now, these characters, you have filled out the sex checklist. So if you would like to sex them, please press the sex button.
I've not got to the sexy zone yet, so this is new to me. So far, it's just been like the worm and eye zone, which is different to the sexy zone.
Well, so, in like
a much less enjoyable zone.
Yeah. In like any BioWare RPG, it's like if you fulfill a certain threshold of friendship points with any character, you might be able to romance them. With like those games, usually it's quite sort of like melded into the bit, and they'll be staggered out at different moments and based on like what quests you've been doing and stuff like that. With Baldur's Gate 3, it is literally like, right, well, we've reached the sexy zone, so it's you want the sex now, or we need to go. So
look, Wheels, efficiency. Okay, we know what we're here for.
Like, who should I sleep with tonight? No.
Well, let's just say this: I've only seen some trailer bits and some pictures of the characters, and I already know exactly which one. I've got my eye on them.
Is it the vampire?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Terrible choice, but yeah, no,
what?
That makes sense.
Am I this predictable?
Yeah, of course you are. I obviously went for either the green dom or the cleric woman. It's all very obvious. Right, anyway.
Matt!
Hello. Yes, so anyway, I played that and intended for that to be a very brief mention on this podcast. I've also started playing new Ace Attorney, which isn't a board game, but a board game I have been playing is Descent: Legends of the Dark.
Whoa!
Which I've alluded to multiple times in this podcast because I couldn't speak about it until now because it was under embargo. And to be upfront, I haven't finished the campaign. I have played like a handful of the scenarios so far. I've probably put about 6 or 7 hours into it. Apparently the campaign is like 50 hours long. For those who aren't familiar with it, it is like the new Descent game. So Descent, dungeon crawling series, relatively nuts and bolts fantasy. I have never cared about Terranoff. They've really, Fantasy Flight, which is the publisher of Descent, have really tried to make Terranoff a thing in the last 5 years. They put out an RPG book about it. They did a whole miniatures game about it.
Books about it.
Yeah, it's just never been interesting to me. But what I will say is that Legends of the Dark has me invested in, if not the world, like the world is interesting enough, but the characters in it I do actually enjoy spending time with. To be upfront, it is also an app game, so you need to use an app to play it, which is new for Descent. They put out a companion app for Journeys in the Dark, which is the second edition came out like 2012, I think. But it was optional. So that game, one person was basically the GM, like an overlord figure, and everybody else was working against them. Here, everybody's on the same side, playing against the app, a bit like Mansions of Madness or Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. I personally like app games. I don't think they're for everyone. I don't think they're for every game, but I generally like them. I don't think this is going to turn anyone around on app games. It is, I think it is, and I've written a whole article on this on the website, which you can read if you want some more kind of in-depth thoughts, but I think it is easily the best companion app I've used. It is really kind of visually impressive. Parts of it are like playing a visual novel game in terms of you're picking dialogue options. You are like, there are events that just play out in the app that are just kind of like small narrative events in between your kind of big dungeon crawls. You can craft weapons, like crafting things. Sometimes that gives you new physical cards. Sometimes it just adds kind of effects that happen in the background on the app. And it's really, I think it's a really good blend on the whole. And that, all of that digital kind of stuff then combines with the board game itself, which is a great big cube. It's like the size of a small footstool. And half of it arrives empty, which was a surprise when I took the top half off and the bottom was just empty. And I thought, oh no, they've sent the wrong thing. But that's because you build the 3D terrain that is included in the box and you store it in there. And there's a lot of 3D terrain. There are trees, like pedestals with books on, cauldrons. There's like a dragon skeleton. There are stairs because the tiles sit on different levels. You prop them up with columns. And when it's all set up, it is really impressive. Like it does look fantastic. I think the miniatures in the box there are like a few dozen, I think maybe 3 dozen miniatures or so. So it's not full on kind of Kickstarter game in terms of just giving you hundreds of miniatures. But I think there are enough in there where there's plenty of variety, and then the app will mix up those miniatures. So one miniature for a bandit could be like a normal bandit who will come in and kind of move in closer to you, or they could be a bandit sniper, so they'll attack from like further away.
Close dirty.
Some of them pop up as kind of mini bosses. They use the stuff in the box in a really clever way that really does feel like you get a lot out of what's in there. And what's in there is a lot, but it feels like they were clever with not just cramming the box full of hundreds of minis that you only use once and then move on to a different scenario. And like I say, when it's all set up, it really does come alive. Like you've got, we've been playing with kind of the app in the background, so it's like almost a literal backdrop to it, but it plays music and it gives kind of narration and dialogue. And then you have the 3D environments that you're actually moving around. You've got your character cards and dials. One of the new mechanics is you flip cards over, so you can change weapons which have different abilities. And you can also flip your character sheet over. And that's important because it clears another new mechanic, which is fatigue, which you place on your cards to pull off special attacks. So you can always do them. It's not like you have to build up tokens, then spend them. You put them on those cards in order to perform them. So you've always got that option. And then by spending an action, you flip it and take those off. So that then changes your action, but also clears, the fatigue you've built up. And it's a really, when it all comes together, it's just a very kind of satisfying click. It's not going to blow anyone away, I think, that's played a dungeon crawler in the last 5 years. Like if you played Mansions of Madness, some of this will be familiar. If you played Journeys in Middle-earth, it will be familiar. But I think what it does is it takes a very kind of solid foundation and just like lifts it up through the fact that the app is very strong, through the kind of game, like the little gameplay additions, through the presentation of the board itself. And I'm just having a really good time with it. That's basically, I'm as burnt out on fancy dungeon crawlers as anyone else. I have a very low tolerance for kind of generic fantasy. Like say, Terranoff has always just seemed blandest of the bland kind of fantasy world. And for once, I'm kind of invested in seeing where these characters go and exploring the world and enjoying the writing is fine. It's not bad. It's not outstanding, but I think for a board game, it's absolutely on par. It's kind of similar to like Gloomhaven or Mansions or, whatever you want to pick out. And I think like it's enough to drive you through. And it's when all of these things come together that are kind of by themselves are like pretty solid or pretty good, but when they all come together, it's just a really good time that I'm having with it. Like I've been playing with my wife, we've been playing 2 players, but you can swap in and use multiple characters if you want. The missions that you go on kind of encourage you to swap characters as well. You'll go on side quests for certain characters that will have narrative impacts. We actually failed a mission yesterday, and that it didn't restart us at the beginning. It actually triggered a different kind of set of side events related to the fact that we'd failed, and that character then had development in a different way. And I think that's where the app really shows its strengths, because it would be massively unwieldy to have a book that you're searching for different entries through, or a stack of cards that you're having to cross-reference against, oh, well, this person did this and this person did that. When it's all kind of handled silently in the app and it just springs up these kind of dialogue options or events, it's very slick, but I don't think it detracts from the experience on the table itself. Like, it looks great. The combat is, it's pretty standard. You move, you attack, you roll dice to resolve things, you put in your successes, you see what happens. But it is satisfying in a way that is just then raised by how good the app is. So yeah, I'm, like I say, a full review will be coming once I've finished the enormous campaign. It's worth saying that the box is not cheap. So we were sent a copy by Fancy Flight to obviously check out for review, but I think it's $175. I don't know what that is in pounds. I would imagine, thanks Brexit, it's probably about 150 to 170 quid. And that's a serious chunk of money. Even compared to things like Gloomhaven, I think Gloomhaven was like £120 when it came out. That's a serious amount of money. It's not a cheap box at all. And
I would buy it with multiple people. And then you can do
and I think
campaign
actually
together. That's the purpose of it.
And in some ways, I think that's where it will thrive most, because it does feel like, people talk a lot about Gloomhaven as a kind of like D&D in a box. And Gloomhaven's combat is often so crunchy that it's not quite that. Like, I wouldn't invite friends who like D&D to play Gloomhaven and expect them to gel with it, because it's a lot to take on board. This, I think, really finds that sweet point of, it's a proper board game. You roll dice, you do mechanics, you flip over cards. There are actual mechanics in there. But all the GMing, all the storytelling that's handled by the app does make it feel like more of a kind of RPG in a box thing. And I think actually, if you can get like 4 or 5 friends and you are able and willing to split that cost, and it will give you, like I say, 50 hours of gameplay. And from what I've seen, like different things will happen if you play with different characters and have different outcomes. So there is a level of replayability there as well. It's not like you get to the end and that's that. So potentially there's more than 50 hours of content overall. That's not to justify the price, because I still think it's a lot. But I think it is, as an experience, I am enjoying it to the point where I would be tempted to be like, you know what, I'm enjoying this so much that for 50 hours of kind of a very good fun time with friends that doesn't involve a lot of investment, because the app handles a lot of the rules and things like that, is very slick. Like, I don't know if they're going to add DLC down the road like they did with Mansions, but maybe that also adds replayability. But I think there's a solid case for, like, it feels like you're getting your money. It doesn't feel like they have just, moved a decimal point in the price without putting things in the box or things in the app that justify that. But
the difference here is that it feels like, even though the miniatures are like very high quality, it feels like it doesn't feel like all that money has just been poured into high quality miniatures.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the difference here. I think that's the thing that really annoys me the most, because, like, I don't know, to me, if you want to buy really high quality miniatures, you just buy high quality miniatures for, like...
Well, you go into wargaming, like...
Yeah, like, you're into wargaming. That's what you buy. Like, I feel like the price tag of so many board games has shot up because they put really high quality miniatures in there. And then that's why it costs so much. And I suspect that a lot of the money here has been put into that app. But the difference here is that that app seems to do a lot of work for the game and and adds a lot to the experience. So it kind of feels like the investment is worthwhile, at least in that regard.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, there are quite a few miniatures in there, but it doesn't feel excessive, if you know what I mean. Like, there are, I think, like maybe 4 or 5 of each enemy type, and then 1 for each of the characters. I think there are 6 characters overall, and they are good miniatures. I think they're probably the best miniatures Fantasy Flight has done. They are much better than the Mansions of Madness miniatures, which were not great. They were very bendy. These are kind of slightly more brittle and a bit more detailed, and you don't have to plug them into a weird little hole that they then fall out of all the time. But it's also like that 3D cardboard terrain. It does make a difference. Like, you get Kickstarter games that have incredible looking miniatures, no doubt, but then you're just playing them on flat bits of cardboard, and it just feels like you say, all the money went into miniatures. But here it feels like they're kind of delivering across the board in terms of just pure presentation.
Quality, yeah.
And I think ultimately that's what this is it's not revolutionary in terms of, I think the app is very good. Like, the app is outstanding, and from what I've played so far. But the gameplay itself isn't gonna blow you away if you've played, like I say, if you played any dungeon crawler. I just think it's a very solid game that has like impeccable presentation and kind of very, very strong. It just makes like a very strong impression.
I think that's really important in a game like this, because, to be honest, you're not really playing it for the mechanics so much. You're mostly playing it for like the immersive experience. You want to feel like, oh yeah, I care about these characters. I'm traveling through this world. Oh, I'm going to go on this side quest and see what happens. And from what you've said to me, it feels like it achieves those. To me, it just kind of sounds like a single player kind of adventure / RPG experience, but like on a board.
Yeah, I think it really does. Like,
with friends, like.
Yeah, like, there are points. I was saying this just before we start the podcast, and I said a bit of this in my article. There are points where you do your dungeon crawl, and then in between missions, you go back to the city, which is all on the app. You can upgrade your weapons, you craft things using the materials that you've got. But there are also narrative events between characters, and they appear on the screen, and it basically becomes like a visual novel, and you're kind of picking little things, and that, like, it's not overwhelming. It's not like you're spending half an hour doing that. It's just kind of 5-minute little things that really flesh out these characters. And as you travel to the main scenarios where you will then set up the board and venture through and all of that kind of thing, you will come across randomized events as you kind of dot your way across the map. And it might just be as simple as like, oh, we found someone who was trapped down a well, or we came across a cart that had been raided by robbers or something like that. But again, it just kind of, it all comes together to make it feel very satisfying as kind of like a storytelling experience. Like you say, like I think it's the kind of thing that people will want to sit down with their friends once a week, play a couple of hours. Each scenario is about a couple of hours, with a little bit of sitting down at the start and the little bit of city management. It's probably about 2.5 hours. It's not a huge ask. And then you just save, pack away. It's not like setup is pretty quick, and like packing away is pretty quick. And I think that's where it will really find its kind of biting point, is with people who want an RPG but don't want any of the prep. And I think it actually does deliver on that. Like it is a really strong kind of, like just a really strong kind of like storytelling adventure with a bit of combat and a bit of puzzle solving. Like it's really fun. But like I say, I am only part way into the campaign. There will be a lot more to come. There will be a full review. So take everything I've said with a pinch of salt. But so far, I am excited. And I didn't see me being excited for this because Terranov is so boring and has been so boring in the past. But actually, this has kind of tipped me over into being like, yeah, you know what? I like these characters. I like this art style. I kind of like this world. Like, I guess I'm all in now. So show me what you've got, Descent.
Sweet.
All right. That's me. Wheels.
Quick.
Right, we're an hour in, so I guess I'll talk for about 5 minutes, then we'll move on. But I actually haven't been playing many tabletop games this week, which is handy because we don't have much time. But I have been reading through, and I will just preface this with just a slight editorial note that the graphic designer who worked on this book is someone that I've worked with on a personal project in the past. However, I've been reading through a copy of What Waits Beneath by Nevin Holmes, which was sent to us in the office. It's an absolutely beautiful RPG. It's a solo journaling game about going down into the deep ocean, and it's just got some really, really well-purposed art. Like, all of the art inside is like public domain illustrations and things like that. And it's just, I really wanted to point it out because it's such a really good example of how, like RPGs on a budget, if you don't have many funds to make these kind of games, there are so many resources out there now where, like, if you're a smart graphic designer, if you know someone who is, like, you can make some really, really beautiful projects. And it's a really cool game as well. It's one that I quite like the idea of because you're using playing cards to make this little map, and then using dice. It's sort of like, you compare your dice result to the playing card that you're on and all that kind of stuff. And you're actually kind of like moving around a physical space, which is really interesting. So instead of just kind of like draw a card, here's your prompt, draw a card, here's your prompt, it's got a lot more sort of sense of presence and space, which is really interesting. So I've just been reading through that. I haven't played it yet, but it's really lovely and it's really nice. I want it to just sit on my coffee table now because it's really pretty. But as far as actual games go, apart from moving lots of furniture, we went out this week, and I really want to talk about this because I finished editing it today, and it's going to be a really good video. We went out this week, myself, Lodies, and Liv, when we were finally back in the studio, the whole video team, and we went and recorded us trying to beat the record time in a local escape room. So we played a game called Dave of Judgment. It's like a sort of 1980s themed escape room. It's literally opposite the office as well, so it's really accessible. It's a really great escape room, really like looks lovely, all that kind of stuff, really interesting puzzles. But we challenged ourselves for a brand new series that we're calling Dicebreaker Podcast, in which we go to an escape room and we have to beat the best time. Not only to the fact that, we get the full hour and then we hope that we beat it, we get the exact amount of minutes that the best time is. So we went in and we had 26 minutes to try and finish this escape room.
That's fast.
It is fast. So it is a tense video. There's a lot going. It's really, really fun to watch. I won't spoil what happens, obviously, because you'll have to find out. But that video is going live tomorrow at 3 p.m. BST. And genuinely watch it. It's going to be fantastic. I'm really, really, really pleased with how it came out. it was really fun to like film on location again, like, you know, like, because we've been just sort of stuck in flats in a studio for so long. It's really great to go out and do things. But really amazing, yeah. Thank you to Bewilderbox for letting us come and film. But that is what we've been doing this week. Let's move on, Matt.
Nice. Look at that. Perfectly on time. 2 minutes to spare.
Thanks, Will.
No worries.
Let's move on to this week's news. As usual, we're kind of just giving a brief rundown. If you want the full kind of latest news, head over to Dicebreaker.com, where we have many news stories, including many from one Chase Carter, a wonderful news reporter, who this week has been covering some of the ongoing kind of just struggles and just it sounds like a really hard time for board game publishers and like creators in general as of late, due to the rising cost of shipping and just general shipping delays, which have been caused by a multitude of reasons. Some of this is coming out of the back of obviously COVID-19 pandemic, and everything shutting down and then everything starting back up again, and every industry that produces physical goods needing to get those physical goods somewhere. So shipping containers have just kind of exploded in price. I think so. Chase went and spoke to Lader Games, who we mentioned earlier, of Fort and Root and Oath and Vast fame. So spoke to some of the folks over there about just kind of the rising cost of shipping containers and the difficulties they've been having. And yeah, I really recommend folks go and read this. It's a little bit more inside baseball than some folks might typically read, but I think it's a really interesting thing to know, particularly if you back Kickstarters. So there's an example given in there of the Assassin's Creed board game Brotherhood of Venice, from Triton Noir, which completed its Kickstarter successfully, produced all the games I think in April of this year, kind of during the spring, and then as they went to send them out, this is where this shipping container shortage and like rising costs have hit, and they basically turned around and posted a very kind of frank and upfront post on the Kickstarter to backers saying, we're really sorry, but we're going to have to ask you for a bit more money. I think in fairness to Triton Noir, they put the figures in there, they broke everything down and they said, this is what we're going to pay of this chunk, but we're going to have to ask you to split it between all of you backers as well, because it's a serious money. It's I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but I think it's gone from, you know, either single digit thousands or tens of thousands to get a container, depending on the size, up to, I think the Brotherhood of Venice one is literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's shot up to, which for an industry like board games, for an industry like hobby games, it's a huge cost. That's a cost that for some publishers, you know, they just won't be able to make ends meet. You know, board games, like a lot of things from small creators, work on very fine margins. And
I saw the Cosmic Frog designer say that his shipping costs had increased 250% since March on Twitter, and it's horrendous because, like, as you say, this is an indie industry, so like prices like this. I mean, it's ironic that Kickstarter games have been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So now we're at a state where, you know, you make a game with 400 miniatures in it. How the hell are you going to ship that? The amount of price that you have to pay per box is just mad. It's a really dangerous spot for the industry. Yeah.
So like that, I really recommend folks go and read Chase's like very kind of in-depth and very good article on this.
Really get into the real nitty-gritty of things.
But that wouldn't be very fun either.
No, but kind of related to this, so it's not just small publishers that are being hit, but obviously they're often being hit hardest. Wizards of the Coast, which makes Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, owned by Hasbro. Hasbro had its latest kind of quarterly investor call or earnings call, and Hasbro also said that it's going to be raising the price of D&D and Magic later this year to account for the rising cost of shipping. But they haven't confirmed. So I believe Chase reached out to Hasbro Wizards of the Coast to try and find out exactly what that might look like for like consumers, for people buying those games. And they haven't responded, but it seems like that cost will be passed on to the people that buy the games rather than the publisher paying for that. Which when you this is me speaking personally rather than as Dicebreaker. But when you look at something like that and you've got Hasbro must be $1 billion company, if not multi-millions. But when you've got a publisher like Lader, which is working on much smaller margins with much smaller amounts of money and people, and they are, eating some of that cost just out of their own pocket, versus a company like Hasbro, which that I'm sure it's a lot of money, but Hasbro, it's probably pocket change or the equivalent. So for them to just kind of turn around and foist it seemingly upon consumers is, just it's hey, that's capitalism, I guess. Thanks, capitalism.
It's working as intended.
Yeah, and this obviously follows record levels of popularity for both D&D and Magic, as Hasbro's been very keen to point out over the last few years.
Yeah,
so they're bigger than ever, and they're going to be more expensive than ever.
If you're sick of the omnipresence of D&D and Magic the Gathering, why not watch one of the latest videos that went out on Dicebreaker's YouTube, based on an article on Dicebreaker.com, about how the industry in Japan actually doesn't have D&D as its most popular Western RPG. It's actually someone else. So go and have a look at that.
Yeah, watch it.
It's good.
Watch the video.
But yeah, like I say, like we're only skimming the surface here. It's obviously it's a complicated situation across the board. It's affecting a lot of publishers, not just the ones we've named. But I would really recommend folks go and read Chase's very good reporting on both of those stories, which you can find on the website. But it's something to be aware of. If you start seeing board games costing more in your local friendly retailer, there's a good chance that it's not their fault. They're just trying to make ends meet like everybody else. They are being stung as badly as the publishers, as badly as the consumers as well. So, it's just something to be aware of if you're buying board games, is how it's not all about what's in the box sometimes.
It's getting it there.
Ooh.
Yeah. In terms of other news on the website, I'll quickly scan through some of this stuff. There's a new Happy Salmon coming, which I point out because Dicebreaker loves Happy Salmon.
Yeah.
I'm going to be really upset if they get rid of the salmon bag packaging. I don't want them to try and modernize it. I want it to look just as goofy and stupid as it always does.
Yeah, so this is an intriguing one because it's been bought by Exploding Kittens, the company behind the card game of the same name. It's the first game they've picked up that is not kind of developed or released internally before. So yeah, Happy Salmon, we've not been quiet about how much we love Happy Salmon. But they've described the new Happy Salmon as having an exploding kittens twist, I think is the phrase they used.
God.
Later this year. So who knows? Are they just gonna give it oatmeal?
That's what's gonna happen. They're gonna have they're gonna have the salmon be sicking out rainbows and stuff. I guarantee it. That's their thing.
Do you remember when Oatmeal made that big comic about how much he loves the Tesla company?
I don't, because I don't read the Oatmeal. So that's coming out later this year, and we'll see. But they have confirmed that Happy Salmon original will remain.
Oh, good.
Sorry, Aaron Winmay in chat just said "row as me."
That's very good.
That really got me.
That's very good.
Thank you, Aaron. Oh my god.
Also coming up, not this year, next spring, I believe. Meehan, you wrote this story about the new Cryptid.
Yeah, April 2022. There's a new Cryptid game coming. It's where someone plays as the monster, and another player is being the person who wants to find the monster, and it's in a sea, and I think there's a Mothman involved.
Ooh.
So that's get hype.
Yeah.
Quadshine Moira does the art, and I love their work. They're very good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. Also coming is a new Dune game later this year from Don Eskridge, who you probably know as the creator of The Resistance and Avalon. And like those games, Dune Betrayal will be a social deduction game. Who would have thought? So I believe you're either House Atreides nobles or your House Harkonnen secret agents, and you're trying to basically take each other out, but you don't know who among you is who.
Matt, which one?
What we know.
Do you get to play as Sting or not?
I can't remember who Sting plays in the David Lynch film. Is he a Harkonnen? I assume he's a Harkonnen because
he plays someone in a.
He's up to bad business.
I don't know who he plays, but I'll tell you something. He definitely drinks his own piss, because that's you.
He probably tells the galaxy about how much he loves tantric sex. So, yeah, that's on the way from Gale Force 9, which is the studio that re-released the kind of classic Dune game, and also has, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it. It's like Dune: A Conquest of Diplomacy and something else. But it's basically a shorter version of the old Dune game. So
Dune,
they're going,
a keyword of keywords.
They're all going in on Dune, Dune, whatever. Who cares? But they'll be out this October ahead of the Denis Villeneuve movie, which I'm intrigued to see. It seems to have the same color palette as Blade Runner 2049.
Right. No,
yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's just set in a desert. I saw loads of tweets like that, and I was like, it's just set in a desert.
Every sci-fi film has to be set in a desert.
If it's as good as Blade Runner 2049, I'm happy.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
Also, it's called June. Did you think it was going to be purple? Like,
you need to expect beige. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
expect beige. Finally, not a news story, but Meehan, you wrote a guide to clerics on the site.
Yeah, I wrote to a guide to your favorite clerics.
More boss.
No, the guy just says, don't do what Matt Jarvis did.
Yeah.
Don't put all your points into everything but wisdom.
It's one sentence. It just says, don't do what Matt Jarvis did. No, it's more than one sentence. Boy, is it more than one sentence. Yeah, this is another entry in our continued series of D&D character creation guides. So if you want to make a cleric in D&D 5e, then just go on a website and go to how to plays, and it's right there, and it guides you through everything. And then just a little sprinkle of personality, a little sprinkle of humor there.
Just a tiny sprinkle. I mean, look, I feel at liberty to say that Liv recently did a very good video on choosing tieflings and like how to pick a tiefling, and you've just done a guide on clerics. But honestly, it has nothing to do with the fact that I played as tiefling cleric in Dungeon.
Didn't even put those two together.
But if you do want to make a tiefling cleric like I did, and do a better job of it, you can go and check both of those out.
That video and then read my guide, and then you can make a tiefling cleric.
If you'd like to avoid at least 2 or 3 comments on every Dungeon Breaker video telling you or asking you if you've calculated wisdom correctly, you can go and read that guide and do it right. Anyway, let's move on to this week's segment. I almost said sexy segment because I've written in this document stupid sexy board games.
Stupid sexy board games.
So
this was actually, I believe, this was based on an idea from Loli's, but then it got thrown into the Dicebreaker blender. And out the top of it, we now have a little mini game where we have each written a blurb for an erotic novel. A steamy novel. You know, there's nothing that explicit in it.
The kind of thing you would pick up in newsagents if you were passing through an airport and you just wanted something to read on the plane.
It might have a picture of a well-oiled six-pack on the front, you know? Like, it's that kind of novel.
But a six-pack of board games in this case, just...
because for episode 69, the gimmick is this book is set in the universe of a board game, a popular board game, and it's up to everyone else listening to try and figure out what that board game is. So I guess, I've just explained it, so I guess I'll go first. We've written one each. I think how we should do this is, I'm going to read it sentence by sentence and give it enough pause, and you can make guesses in between the full stops.
I think you got to do the whole thing. Yeah. I want the full experience. No.
Well, no, because as you go through, I'm still going to read the whole thing. But as you go through, it gets more and more obvious. So I feel like you should get points for guessing early, you know?
EA122 says, so it's a Wheels and Boon offering.
Which
is very good.
I will say I don't care about points.
Okay, fine. All right. Are we ready?
I want to have fun, and I want you to give us the full experience of what this book is, including afterwards. I want you to tell us what you think the cover looks like as well.
Oh yeah, okay. That's a good idea. Yeah.
All right, okay. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Bill's days amongst the hot fields are usually a mucky and sweaty affair. He's been tending to his stock since he took over his father's business, and whilst it isn't glamorous work, someone has to do it. Bill never really wanted for much. That is, until a strapping young man from Kansas City with a silver tongue and a set of piercing blue eyes casts his spell on him in a chance encounter at the local saloon. A few steamy encounters with city slicker David has got Bill's head spinning, and now all he can imagine is a future with this handsome stranger. But just as Bill decides to make his move, David drops the news that he has to return to Kansas City for good. Bill is faced with a sudden choice. Say goodbye to a chance at love, or uproot his life and travel the long road to Kansas with cattle in tow. Whatever happens, there's sure to be some interesting encounters for these smitten strangers on...
Great Western Trail.
Thank you very much.
Great Western Trail.
The Great Western Trail by
very
Alexander Pfister.
Yeah, I kind of got it as you were like talking about, oh, they have to go back to Kansas.
Yeah, the Kansas City bit.
Wheels, what does this book cover look like?
Okay, so at what point do you think like you got it? Was it Kansas? Was Kansas the thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah? Okay, alright. So, I'm imagining we've got the cattle sort of like moving along the rocky path.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. In like the background, and then imagine one of those like Oregon Trail style covered wagons, and it's like it's hot, the sun's blaring, and two shirtless muscular men are like holding onto the horses that are maybe rearing up a bit, but they're like casting a glance at each other. I will just say, by the way, our concurrent viewers have absolutely fallen off a cliff. I don't know if something technical happened or if people are just not into this.
Be into it.
Oh, God.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. I'd read it.
Good. Thanks.
Who wants to go next?
Me and you go.
I go next. Okay. I want to see how quickly that you not get this one. I'm laughing already.
Oh, the views are back up. I think we just had a little weird spike thing. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm laughing already. So should give you an idea. Right. Okay. Zara Bitstickle was just a small town country lass living on the planet XEX2 Night as a humble space cow farmer when suddenly she finds herself swept up in a war of galactic proportions. Recruited by the enigmatic, but incredibly handsome General Frobs McTouching as an undercover agent for the Planetary Secret Service, Zara must travel to the rival planet HOT 69 later under the guise of a simple interstellar farming diplomat charged with gaining access to the government's warfare plans. Not only will Zara have to brave the heady dangers of infiltration, but she will also have to control her intense attraction towards the also enigmatic and incredibly handsome Lieutenant Bulge Swetson, a sworn enemy of her planet's leader. And who could that mysterious, sultry woman she's seen making many eyes at her from across the council table possibly be? More importantly, what does she want? Will the war end? Will Zara survive her mission? Will sexy times ever happen? Well, yes, they will. There you go.
Wow.
Twilight Imperium?
No.
Is it?
Oh, I've got you now.
Cosmic Encounter?
Yes, it is Cosmic. Matt, it's Cosmic Encounters.
Oh.
Did you get that?
Encounters of a cosmic kind.
Yeah. Did you like my puns?
Oh.
I wasn't watching you. I was just listening.
Yeah, as Throbs McTouching came out. I lost it a little bit.
So the cover of it, I'm imagining, is obviously like a galactic background. I want this to be like a painting. This isn't like a photo. And there's a woman there, and she's wearing a space-style dress with a very low cut.
Oh, a space-style dress.
I was going to say, describe a space-style dress.
Like metallic, like it's metallic.
Do you mean like the Jetsons?
Like Clone Wars.
What?
Like Star Wars Episode 2, The Clone Wars. I don't know, like Natalie Portman, right? Low cut metallic dress, and she has a heaving bosom.
Got it.
Heaving bosoms, and there's two hot alien men behind her, looking stoic, and a lady right behind her back, and so they're surrounding her, and she's just like falling into them.
How humanoid are the aliens? Are they just like a muscular man that has been turned purple in Photoshop? Or are we talking
I want
actual high-level monster shaggers?
Yeah, oh yeah. I want them to be like humanoid enough so that it could work, but like not boring. Like there's some.
Listen, we don't want any logistical problems in this novel.
Yeah, and the woman alien has loads of eyes, because that was the joke.
Excellent.
Yeah. There you go. That's my erotic.
Very
novel.
strong.
Expect it in spring 2020.
Right. Well,
I was going to say
we're kind of like. I feel like we should have put Meehan last because I feel like that was the most erotic one that we're going to get.
Yeah.
What did you expect?
Well, look,
This is a woman who regularly reads this kind of stuff alongside the classics. Sometimes I like a palate cleanser of trash.
It says so much. Mine is very like smart free. I've gone with just kind of like romantic fiction. I feel like it's
You're too sweet and innocent.
Look, we've hit the peak, and now we're tailing off with a nice kind of like
a
cup of tea. All right.
Cup of tea afterwards.
Mine's also very short. I didn't realize that you were going so long with these.
A post-coitus cuppa.
All right. Do you want me to get into it?
Go, Matt.
A Japanese illustrator crosses the Pacific Ocean in search of fame and fortune. What they didn't expect to find in the Big Apple was love. But their blossoming relationship and career is suddenly thrown into question when their acclaimed artwork faces accusations of plagiarism. Will their dreams of becoming an international talent be left in tatters over the career-ending claims of counterfeiting?
Yeah.
How will they earn back the respect and trust of their peers? And most importantly, can they prove their love is as true as their talent?
A fake
artist goes to New York.
There you go.
Very good.
Yeah. Well, one criticism. Where's
the
all the
sex,
love?
Matt?
Yeah, where's
Sex
the
sells at the end
romance
of the
and the
day.
sex? Yeah.
And
It's a romantic thriller.
this one's getting left on the shelves, I'm afraid, mate.
Yeah, I picked it up.
Okay, we'll call them like naked McDrawinson. I don't know, like.
Here's how I'm seeing. You're right. You're in the WH Smiths, right? The
Okay.
travel WH Smiths. That's in like a.
Yeah.
It's in one of those
Heathrow
like food
Airport.
court areas. It's right next to like a McDonald's or something.
Yeah, right next to the most romantic location.
Exactly. Yeah.
McDonald's.
You walk in, and you see. So my book is like eye level
Yeah.
because it's pretty. It's pretty standard.
Yeah.
But it's it's in the romantic erotic section.
Yeah.
Meehan's is like top shelf.
Yeah,
It's got
sold
like
in a brown bag.
It's got a black cover over it. Yeah, it's just got the name written on a tag.
Is it top shelf because it's so good?
No, it's top shelf to avoid the
No.
eye line of children.
No,
and
Wills.
then Matt's
No,
is
Wills.
like Matt's is like trodden into the carpet.
No, you misunderstand me, Wills. Mine's not even in the physical book section. Mine is on the Kindle store for 50p.
Yours is only available for 69p on Amazon.
Yeah, because it's the kind of one like that you don't want other people to know.
No, I think Matt's is for like the older, more discerning audience, you know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Wills.
No. I think you're going for that sort of like, you know, silver fox kind of territory.
Well,
like,
I was thinking
smut.
like
no, I read romantic novels, that kind of thing, you know.
Aaron says topless shelf. Also, Cookie Cat 94 says Wills and Meehan went with smart, and Matt went with a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, that checks out.
Legitimately, it is.
I thought that was more what we were going for.
Matt, I'm gonna send you some books to educate you.
Please do not send them on the work Slack. I don't need to be locked out of my.
I love how many HR infringements we get on this podcast.
No, send them in a box.
Right.
Marked "Do not open."
We have but 5 minutes left. Shall we read this question that we've got from Baron Breakfast?
Yeah, let's get some questions. And if folks want to send in their own questions, you can either drop them in the chat when we're live each week, or you can email podcast@dicebreaker.com.
There it is.
Or hey, drop them on Twitter @JoinDicebreaker. Get in touch, whichever way you prefer.
Signal.
Yeah. Send us a box full of books.
Carrier pigeon, carrying
in the back of a wagon.
Brown bagged erotic thriller.
Brown bag erotic thriller.
All right. Wills, would you like to read this one from Baron Breakfast?
Absolutely. Baron Breakfast asks, what board game would you like to be adapted into a film? What's the plot and who stars? Well, I would like the plot of The Great Western Trail.
What board game? Who would star in that? Wills?
I feel like we'd be tapping into the Brokeback Mountain kind of
pool.
Yeah, pool there. So I feel like it's kind of done, you know.
It's Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac
and Oscar Isaac. It's like
and Oscar.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's
give us Oscar a nutty Isaac, professor.
And it's also Robert Pattinson is.
Yes, that's an excellent.
He's the City
Slicker.
And he's like a sort of handsome twink energy. And that's the kind of vibe that we go for that. But as far as like actual board games into film adaptations, what do you reckon?
Oh, I don't know. There's been some bad ones. I mean, Battleship.
Oh god, with Rihanna.
Yeah.
There is a super YouTube video of every time Rihanna says, "Hey, look, a battleship," or something along those lines.
You sunk my battleship.
It's a lot. There's a lot of those lines in that movie, and that's not Rihanna's fault. Don't get me wrong. That is the script's fault.
Yeah,
but it is abysmal.
Okay, here's one. Okay, so the recent Jumanji films are actually quite good.
Yeah, they're good fun.
Particularly when Awkwafina gets to pretend to be Danny DeVito. That's amazing. So I reckon something sort of similar like that. Maybe Escape the Curse of the Temple. Something that would be fun.
Yeah.
So like a classic adventure story where this group of motley crew of mismatched individuals find themselves on an adventure to go into a temple and find this treasure. But it turns out that the temple is cursed and they have to get out before they get locked in forever. So I'm imagining like a modern day The Mummy, basically.
Or Indiana Jones, but not racist.
Yeah, Indiana Jones, but not racist.
It's kind of full circle, right? Because I think that game was inspired by Indiana Jones. So, and
now
a movie that's inspired by that.
Yeah. And the casting would be Brendan Fraser.
Bring him back.
Bring him back.
Glorious return.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser, Rachel
Danny
Weisz, Danny DeVito, obviously.
All your
Danny
90s
DeVito.
favorites.
I think it's a rule that whatever film we do make out of a board game, it has Danny DeVito.
William Dafoe.
Yeah. And Tobey Maguire.
Tom Hiddleston, Tobey Maguire.
Tom Hiddleston, but specifically as Tom Hiddleston from that advert where he's selling like health supplements.
Yes!
Oh,
he's
God.
Like, I made this dinner for you.
Welcome home.
Florence Pugh, Tessa Thompson, Eva Green. There you go.
Have you just named all your favorite actors?
No.
Matt.
I think there would be, I think, in terms of like board games that have actual lore that I'm interested in, I think the Arkham Horror Files stuff would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because that would be Lovecraft, but detached from a lot of the very problematic stuff about Lovecraft.
I need to watch Lovecraft County, actually. I've been meaning
Yes,
to
I have it here. Yeah.
So which one specifically, Matt? Were you thinking Mansion Madness? Or
well, I think Mansions
Horror?
is too contained in some ways. Like maybe that'd make a good haunted house movie, but I think like Eldritch Horror has like the scale of a good like rompy action blockbuster, right? Or maybe like Cthulhu Death May Die, but again, I think that's it's not detached enough.
Yeah.
From some of the Lovecraft stuff. I think one of the things I appreciate about Arkham Horror Files is they just come up with their own characters. They use some of the monsters from the mythos, but they really do just kind of sever as many ties as they can.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
I'd love to see a Kemet film, like big war movie, but set in a mythical ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
Also, isn't that just Gods of Egypt?
Yeah, but a good one.
Yeah, Gods of Matt. It's Gods of Egypt, but
they didn't just use autocomplete to write the script.
yeah. Oh my god, who plays? Give me a second. I need to remember who plays.
Is that the one with Kit Harington? No, Kit Harington is in Pompeii, which is better than it seems. Pompeii is very stupid, but
I need to, because there's a guy who plays there's a guy in it.
Oh, isn't it like Jamie Lannister, the guy that plays Jamie Lannister?
No,
he's in it.
Oh right, no, okay, it's Jeffrey Rush.
Of course it is.
Jeffrey Rush is Ra, and at one point he's shooting an I-beam.
Right, yeah.
Into a giant worm to stop it from eating the world. So that should give you an idea of what Gods of Egypt is like. But yeah, like Kemet, but with like actual Egyptian people in the roles.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Instead of Jeffrey Rush with an I-beam.
However, we can keep the I-beams. We'll keep the I-beams in.
Danny DeVito will also be in
Obviously, Danny DeVito plays Thoth. As a bird head.
Yes!
I can see it.
Oh my gosh, yes. Wait, hang on. Are you... So, now I'm imagining Danny DeVito's head on top of a bird.
It's the other way around, but I mean, we can make it work.
You've got to have the head.
Yeah.
I wanted to see a relatively normal-sized bird, but with Danny DeVito's head on it.
With Danny DeVito's human-sized head.
Yes.
And a beak, but with like strings.
No beak. Just Danny DeVito's
but like a beak mask, like a...
Yeah, like
very clearly not. Yeah.
Yeah. Where would Danny DeVito be in your film, Matt?
In Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror,
he would be one of the monsters.
No, I think that's too straight. I think he's the loose cannon, right? Like he is part of the investigator group. Yeah. I think that's where he fits in that. I feel like the villains would need to be, I mean, they'd just be big CGI fest things. It'd be like Cloverfield, but
it would be Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, just revise Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, just have a big Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsborough.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Willem Dafoe is scary enough to be an eldritch kind of horror. If you kind of amp it up a bit.
He could be your kind of like cult leader, right? It's like,
oh my gosh, yes, he would work really well as a cult leader.
I will say that in my Great Western Trail film, Danny DeVito voices all of the cattle. He's not playing the cattle; he's just the voice actor for every single member of the cattle.
Oh, so what the cattle do? Just go moo, but he does all the moos.
No, they speak in human tongue.
Oh, okay.
Much like a Disney live-action remake film. But Danny DeVito is playing all of the characters.
For some, I can see Danny DeVito playing a character known as Stench Cow to refer to a previous podcast.
I just want to be pure. Right. Okay. Thank you, Farron Breakfast, for a very good question.
Yeah.
We've got some
Yeah, should we do some quick ones?
Yeah.
Meehan, would you like to read this one from Laura, please?
Whoa. Let me get the podcast.
Whoa, you were so surprised by one more question.
Sorry.
2 more questions.
Laura says, is Camelot able to be played by someone who isn't fluent in English, thinking about getting it as a gift? I'd say yeah.
Yeah, it's all iconography, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all symbolism and obviously the rule
symbolism.
I don't know.
It's very there's symbolic. A lot of underlying meaning.
Yeah. Are we the camels?
Are we the camels? That is the big question. Yeah.
I'm definitely the camel that goes backwards.
I think it's relatively language independent. Like, I don't think any of the cards have words on, right? It's just coins and camel meeple images.
And dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say you could do it if you could find a rule book.
I don't think people realize, like, the reason why games like that have just symbols everywhere and no text is because it means you only have to localize the rulebook. Like, it makes it a lot easier for people to play across language.
It's more accessible in general. I will say, like, just swing back around on Descent, one of the things I appreciated is they have tokens to mark, like, separate, so same miniatures but different things in the app. And they are different colors, so like teal and orange and stuff like that. But they also have notches in to make them colorblind friendly.
Sweet.
Which I appreciate, and it's pointed out in the rulebook as well, so it's not just like something they include and don't mention.
Yeah, good. More accessibility, please.
Yeah.
Toto says more accessibility.
Toto said this is a message from Toto. Oh,
he is. Oh God.
More accessibility.
Yeah.
He definitely said that.
All right, let's do this last one from Hewley X Angel. Have you ever heard of a little game called Lasers and Feelings?
Yes, we have.
Why, yes, we have.
Yes, I believe we have a Let's Play on the channel, right?
Yeah. We did one with the cast of Oxtra, or Outside Xbox rather, not Oxtra. And John Harper is a friend of the channel. Very nice man who we've done a few Let's Plays with. We did Aegon as well. And we've done loads of Blaze in the Dark. So, yeah, check them out.
Yeah, play it. It's very easy to learn.
I feel like that was a question that was directed specifically to a comment that we made part of the podcast, but that's fine.
It's fine. Look, we've got to swing around on it sometime, but you just take them as they come. But that's all we've got time for this week on the Dicebreaker Podcast. We'll be back next Friday.
You are now leaving the sex zone.
I don't need paperwork at 3:30 on a Friday.
We'll go back to never referencing anything PG-13 ever again, which is the Dicebreaker way.
This is the forbidden podcast. Thank you for being here, Alex Meehan.
Oh, it's great. I feel like I've really been able to sort of let loose with this one.
As someone that is so enthusiastic and passionate about so many things, every time we finish this podcast, it's just like a real...
It's because I've unleashed all my energy during the podcast. And by the end, I'm just really tired.
Just a desiccated husk of...
Yeah, I've had a massive burst of energy and now I'm just slopping off.
Whenever someone says desiccated husk, I just think of coconut.
And with that, thank you, Wills, for being here.
You're very welcome. Go eat some desiccated coconut.
Unless you're allergic to nuts.
What? If you're allergic to nuts, then you shouldn't be on episode 69 of the Dicebreaker Podcast.
Wow!
All right, it's time to finish.
I will state, I never did anything like that, Matt.
Oh, shush.
I've been Matt Jarvis. Thank you for listening. Stay safe out there. We will be back next Friday, live at 2 p.m. BST. But until then, have a good weekend and have a lovely day. Bye-bye. Nice.